would shame about doing the kind of work I want to do. And so every time I would go into work mode, it would be really dark because I would be doing it but hiding it because I was so ashamed that I was doing it. And so I wasn't like sharing, or I felt guilty about it.
Right.
And so I would like shut down, and I would physically feel ill because shame, I'm studying shame now, and it feels like depression. They say that it's like physiologically the same.
Yeah.
And so this last few weeks has been a lot of release of that because I'm trying to not be ashamed of what I do.
Yeah. How do you describe what you want to do? Like, what are you ashamed of?
I'm ashamed of being public at all in my body, in my voice, in public, but like a crepe, like really bad. But I'm so ashamed that I'm like terrified of it, and I feel judged, and like I'm bad at it, and I'm a bad person for one.
Right. Are you just gonna go for it?
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I don't know what the other option is.
But and like trying to be okay with the fact that I like still like my voice cracks all the time, and like I like curse my parents all the time for making me feel ashamed and stuff like that.
Right.
But I've been more and more aware of that. Which is good. Feels releasing.
When you acknowledge what is at play and then sort of try to work with it.
Yeah, resist. Or let it go. Like, oh, it's not. Yeah. Or try to not believe it
anymore. Yeah. That's good for you. Have you been writing?
I finished my novel, and I'm rewriting it. I sent it to some agents, and I've sent it to people, and the feedback has been good. That's been a lot of why I feel better, is people have been responding positively. And I'm going to do one more rewrite next week, once everything's cleared.
How long is it?
It's not long, it's like 120 pages, 42,000 words. I think it'll be like 45,000 words in the end. It's pretty tight.
Yeah.
But I'm like proud of it for the first time ever, which is nice. I'm excited, and it makes me happy. It's great. I'll let you read it. I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think?
I'm writing one academic paper. I always apply to this like music conference that I've gone to in the past. And I'm writing this thing, which I think it'll allow me to open up my writing in a way that I get stuck in. I rely on like academic speak and like research and like the so and so, and I was like, I cannot do that. Like that's the easy way. And so I'm trying.
What's up? Are you on?
No.
Deanna doesn't want to talk.
How do I get my parking validated? Is that?
Oh,
Do I just or
let me text. I need to get someone's parking validated. This is important. Hold on.
I started just a second ago while the two of you were talking. Were you talking about anything super private?
It's okay.
It's right, you think? Okay.
It's fine. I was talking about... No, I was talking about shame, and she was talking about academic writing. It's fine.
That's actually better.
Yeah.
I know I'm being recorded, and I just get
Yeah.
Now I just did it.
I'm gonna text Dirty Dave. Oh, you can leave it in here. Dirty Dave is the DJ, the music guy, the AV guy. I love Dirty Dave. Hold on, Dirty Dave. Did anybody else park who was a co-host? You did.
I did. Oh yeah, I did.
How many parking? I have 1, 2, 3.
I have my little thing.
Okay.
I feel
3 parking to get validated. I'm coming. Is it online? I'm coming.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Do we have to come to you, Matt? Yeah. Can you write your name on it, please? Yeah. Tierney, can I invite you into the other room to do a quick debrief?
Of course, you know.
Would you like to? Yay.
Wait, you're Vivian Fu? That's crazy. I've known your name for so long.
Probably because we met when you were like 16.
That's ridiculous.
Probably because my name was showing up in your timeline.
Oh my god.
That's true.
Wait, where did you go?
I
Wait, I swear, I feel like
Okay, one.
Yeah.
Did you write your name on it? I know, right?
It's so good.
All gluten-free. Mommy. Should we just do it here? Or do you want to go back over there?
No, you know, actually, variety would be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we can. Are we good here?
Yeah, let's do it here. Do you want some light? A little light on you? Let's see what it looks like. Yeah.
Where did I?
Good. But do you have a chair with you two?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Sit. Yeah, maybe pull this one out.
I texted my AV guy to ask for the parking validated.
the guy who came up.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like everyone I want to kind of have
A pillow.
yeah, because we're slutty and
Oh, I won't. I can shoot like. You can do that, but I'll shoot.
okay, both maybe.
Hi. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm gonna just. Now we are back.
Oh, you were paused for a
I
minute?
didn't. I just put up this.
You put up the off the records thing? Okay. Welcome back to Pillow Talk. I've gotten drunk now. How do you feel, Tierney?
I feel very cozy. It's been like a very warm time, I think, despite like the nature of what we're talking
I turned on the heat.
about. Okay, that must be it. Actually, I think I turned it off. I was so hot.
Can you hear us?
I'm so pleased with your baking.
I know, I went mommed out and I baked all night.
That must have been very relaxing.
Exactly. I need to do stuff with my hands because I don't do that much with my hands.
Masturbate.
I want to masturbate more. It's one of my goals is to masturbate more.
Are you
I live in
interested
a-
ritual masturbation.
Yeah, totally. Wait, are you proposing something?
I'm available.
I'm down.
Mhm.
I don't know, that'd be fun.
Well, I feel like you could teach me some breath.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, for the first time, I really tried to incorporate breathwork into sex because I feel like I interview a lot of people. And they always say that, and then I nod, and like also oftentimes it'll be like within a conversation for an audience, and I'll be like, yeah, like of course, you know. But then I realize like I don't actually like try to actively send breath to my genitals during sex ever. And then last night I was like, come on, what do they call uterine breathing? Just take a little sip, because my friend Liz is always telling me that, and instant results, I felt.
Totally. This is a really important thing. My last lover, I think I stayed with him for so long because the moment we would start kissing, he would be like,
Yeah. Oh my god, same. Well, men just like go crazy with like breath, I think. Like I feel like no matter how much like I can, like even women like that I've like had sexual experiences with that seem to be enjoying it, like I don't know what it is about like men that, like I mean I know that like maybe there's like differences in like arousal of course and times, but like there's like a breath and like a vocality or whatever, vocalness that's like wow, I wanna like I feel like if I try to match it or mirror it sometimes it's super fake, even though if I feel that way, you know.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah, I feel like we all breathed pretty easy tonight, which was good. We talked for like an hour and 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty long
Yeah.
for what it felt like.
I know, it felt like just scratching, like it felt like nothing. Not nothing.
I know
It was
what you
substantial,
mean.
but it was, I feel like we relaxed into it, which doesn't happen much.
That was what was
With-
really nice
yeah.
about it. I feel like everyone, sometimes you can't like control the way that like a conversation goes, but I often want it to like the begin. It's I don't know. They say it with writing too. It's like the beginning is like the boring part, you know. But I didn't feel that was the case tonight. Like people, I think because of the nature of the topic, were super excited to share, or sort of had ideas that they had been looking for a space to share, which I think is why it sort of went so smoothly, is that it seemed like so many people's kind of interior thinking about this like big kind of newsy piece of society right now which is kind of like blurbing all of that out, you know?
But in a very, it felt like people were saying things that needed to be said and that were new. I didn't ever think like, sometimes when we get on these like big topics, I'm like, oh my God, we're just repeating the same thing over. Like we're in a world where we're like caught in a corner, and it didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely true. I think there was, because, I mean, to me, that's what I like about getting together and doing this, is that, like, to just have space to have conversations that, you know, we talk about it, that, like, whether it's online or in writing or these formats that a lot of us regularly express ourselves in that are very, like, fixed and, like, become, like, these, like things that, like, identify us as, like, one concrete thing. I think a lot of people here are used to expressing themselves all the time, but perhaps are expected to do so in ways with, like, concrete meaning or integrity or whatever. So just to be able to talk about things that are like, isn't it weird? Or like, isn't it like fucked up in this way where like, you know, there were multiple mentions of like, I want to say this, but I can't usually say this in my writing or at my job, or this because of this potential risk, you know, whether it's like privacy or needing certain institutions. Oh,
It's a hair on the dick.
she extracted the hair from the dick. Yeah, so it felt very much like listening in on what people really think about stuff. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, it felt candid and real throughout, which I really appreciate. And people really made space for each other, and I felt like really listened to each other, which I think was very infectious.
Totally. I mean, that's really what I want out of these kind of spaces too, is like focused listening, because, and just putting that, I mean, that was sort of like what,
That's what you said at the beginning.
yeah, in general with Pillow Talk, but particularly tonight, because I feel like it's a thing that like, it comes up so much, and then like it's a conversation I've actually participated in less than other conversations about sexuality and gender, because I just feel sort of like oversaturated in a way that's like largely positive, but also it can feel a bit like limiting or shallow or just really, really sensitized, which, but just like it makes me feel sort of like I don't need to like introduce like critical.
Oh, hold on.
That's all good.
I'm getting parking validated for some people, and I just want to make sure.
That they're being.
Can you come up to the room? I'm in the midst of a live stream. I've been practicing this week asking for what I want instead of bending over backwards to just get what I want, because I always thought I had to steal it.
I love getting what I want.
It's really new to me. It's really new to me to ask. Be like, hey, can I have this?
Yeah.
Literally, I had this idea for this,
Yeah.
this thing for so long. And I kept picturing it. I'm like, going to have all these girls in the room, and we're going to talk. I mean, I use girls in like a very expansive term. Gender terms are difficult. I use girls in like a term of endearment or like a mode of connection.
I hope to be called a girl.
I'm in the midst of a live stream.
She's streaming.
I'm streaming. Dirty Dave, come to us. What was something, did you learn anything new tonight?
Sure.
Or like a takeaway, something that's like maybe eating at the back of your brain a little bit?
I think the most interesting idea that came up for me in terms of like a thought experiment that I haven't spent much time thinking about is the notion of restorative justice.
That's what I was thinking of too. That was my takeaway.
Yeah, like I really love and respect Jane Ward, who brought up the idea in our conversation, who's an amazing author and professor and someone who I've interviewed multiple times for stories and always felt like so lucky to be in conversation with. And she brought up this idea that like as other folks went into this notion of like how do you seek justice or seek punishment for people who are, you know, violating sexual rights and stuff.
People who are doing inventories and then like following up with people who had violated them through the years and felt exhausted. But there were like many examples of how we were.
Well, basically, like she brought up the idea of restorative justice as like a community-based model of potential healing for victims and aggressors alike versus like a judicial like criminalized model, because the idea is that like for a lot of people, as multiple people mentioned tonight, that, and I think it feels very true for me, where people who are, against the prison industrial complex and who don't believe in, trusting the police or feel necessarily safe with the police in a variety of other contexts, like the rage and trauma of feeling victimized of sexual assault, it like propels a lot of folks to be like, put him in jail or like kill him, and
Or feel like they're just totally alone in having this burden, like you've already been fucked over and now you have to take on the burden of trying to seek some sort of justice and balancing out, which is hard labor, emotionally labor. It's very taxing.
That was I really enjoyed my friend Paula Kahn.
Me too, I'm really glad, yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome, and something she brought up a lot was just this idea of how much time and energy she's put into creating new consent models and consent re-education, as well as trauma unprocessing or undoing and processing. I drank all that wine for the camera, and then and just sort of really reflecting on the amount of years she spent since she was a young girl doing emotional labor to sort of correct and course correct her own identity and being based on this trauma, and and she was just basically being I should be paid for it. And I think that's really real. It's just unrecognized efforts.
That's what I was thinking at the end of it. I was so many people who are aware of these issues, various issues, any social justice issues, if you're aware of it, you're trying to do something about it, but that already means often that you've been afflicted in some ways, and that you're fighting so many values and fighting so many battles and maybe stressed out at work, and you already are so limited in energy. So I'm curious about how we can convince people who have the bandwidth and the resources to help, people who are having a good time and doing okay and have excess, who can help, chip in a bit. I feel that way too. I've figured out certain ways of taking care of myself that allow me to have excess energy that I would like to place into, but I get something out of it with every endeavor you do with someone. It is a bonding exercise. There's some energy exchange that happens that is individualistically beneficial, also
nourishing. I mean, I think I've made I think at a young age, in terms of my professional career writing about sex and stuff, I specifically transformed my obsession with the male gaze and whether I was receiving it or wishing to receive it or feeling oppressed by it. I sort of transfigured that into making masculinity my grand case study, and then that transpired through working at Playboy and other men's magazines and constantly interviewing men about sexuality, but also about other topics too. And I don't feel it's any female identified or non-binary person's job to re-educate men, but I do think that some of us have less. Yeah, I've had fun doing it, but I also, the most fun about doing it is that I get paid to do it. And whereas so many women are constantly doing that kind of work without getting paid to do it. So yeah, I think it's interesting, but it's also all the more reason why I enjoyed tonight, because there wasn't really that kind of, we didn't really have that obstacle there wasn't a lot of instructional catch up. People intuitively understood what kind of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense. He says that I can send someone down and he'll get them verified for people. I don't have to go myself. Dirty Dave. Sorry, I'm doing.
What does he need, or who's that?
I just want to get people's pre-parking.
I thought Dirty Dave was a famous viewer.
Oh no, we don't have any viewers yet. We have.
Deactivated the live chat. Maybe the next time we'll have a live chat.
Okay, so this is just for later.
No, it's live stream. There's just no.
Oh, hello. There's just no one watching.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, viewers. I think it was my best friend Monique in Toronto who was viewing. Yeah.
I believe in terms of oral sex, I subscribe with man, or any person with a dick. I subscribe to the idea that this should be treated as an entirely separate entity from the rest of the form, and that your cosmic psychic sexual relationship with an individual person should be considered as something extremely distinct from your relationship to their cock.
You have to say that again.
I need to talk about.
No, wait, but you have to say it again because I didn't hear it either.
Okay, well, I subscribe to, since I have this here, and my nail color is so extremely beautiful, I subscribe to the philosophy when providing oral sex to someone with a penis, I subscribe to the philosophy of treating it as an entirely separate entity from that person. So despite any, like, yeah, it's a hot topic, clearly. Basically, this provides it as more of a liminal space for, like, a spiritual connection, and, like, I feel like it actually, like, people, like, second wave feminists could be like, oh, you're obsessed with the dick, but actually it's like, by being so penis-centric, it sort of, like, makes me feel like it's a less gendered experience, especially with a man, because it's, like, such a powerful vessel for, like, all this, like, cosmic sexual energy, and it can be so overwhelming, especially when the focus is only here and not on the totality of, like, the relationship or that person. And so I've experienced great results from this strategy, and I learned it from an extremely problematic woman named Kim Amani, who's, like, a sex educator who got famous for vaginal lifting. Like, she lifts, like, really, really heavy.
Like, she, like, does, like, Kegels, and they just,
Like, she goes into, like, public, like, she'll go on vacation and bring, like, a big vaginal weight and have it, and the ball, like, dangles, like, you know, by her knees. And so she'll be, like, in front of a pyramid, and then,
and she'll, like, lift it up.
and you can see that she's, like, packing tons of pounds inside of her.
I like imagining that I have a penis and that I can feel the pleasure of what they're feeling, which I can. I feel like I can empathetically connect with it and feel like someone's giving me head.
I wore a strap-on. Whoa! Oh my god, I just spilled a bunch of wet on myself. I wore a strap-on once, like, just, like, hanging out with my roommate, and it was, like, a really nice, like, sensory experience, because I just, like, looked down and I was like, oh, here's this organ that I've, like, interacted with in so many ways previously.
On you.
Right, and I mean, intellectually I understood, like, oh, like, the visual of, like, going down on someone is really hot, or, like, I don't know, like, I just, like, kind of got it, but I had been interacting with, you know, like, this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in so many ways, but I hadn't, like, looked down to see it, and then I was like, oh, like, this is, like, a really kind of visceral experience, and I feel like I just, like, appreciated so much more, like, what it meant for someone to, like, and to take care of, like, this organ, and, like, look at it and be like, well, I want to, like, kiss it, you know, and I feel so much more tenderly about them now, really too, because I'm just like, well, I don't know, like, I kind of understand a little bit more, like, what it might be to, like, be someone who has something, like, protruding from their body.
That, like, moves and
moves, and, like, you know, it's, like, very vulnerable. It's, like, you have to, like, take care of it.
The vulnerability aspect is why.
I'm hearing that the live stream isn't live.
The live stream isn't live?
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing a post-show one.
What's the link?
I think if you go to beefydunks/Twitter.
Right, we did two separate ones. We did one pre-show and one post-show, separate them, because then we thought maybe someone wouldn't tune into the end of the pre-show one. If there was all this intermission, they'd get lost or something like that. It's an experiment. Maybe we should wind down. Am I?
Because a lot of discourse does happen in, like, in these very alienating, like, internet spaces. But, like, what we were doing prior to this, you know, it is very different to, like, be around, like, human beings and to engage with them, and obviously, you know.
Do you
and
think
that's
it's possible to be in front of a camera in that way?
Because it got really real. It got super real. I don't think we would have... Should I say this into the mic? I feel like we wouldn't have said a lot of the things that we said if we had known that it was going to be live streamed.
No, for sure.
Like, I think we would have been a lot more, like, self-censoring in a way. Yeah.
Do you think we could ever get to a point where people felt comfortable saying things like that on a public platform, or it just isn't the place? Because these are they are public dialogues, but maybe it feels unsafe. You have to go, if you go to the DJ booth, you can get it calmed.
I'm so happy I got to see you.
I don't think you can put this on YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm gonna go down.
This is from Doc Johnson.
Change levels.
I have to text for Anna.
Yeah, this is Doc Johnson.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anna, ask for Dirty Dave at the lobby. The DJ booth. In the DJ booth in the lobby, Dirty Dave will validate it for you.
It's like when you go down, if you're going in the elevator, go.
You know when Hard to Read is?
Yes.
The DJ booth there.
Okay.
Dirty Dave.
In the pink area. Yeah.
Pink area.
Yeah.
I think I got it. Yes.
I love you. Bye.
Are we still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to say goodnight?
Good night.
Good night, friends.
Good night.
Yeah.
Are you gonna look meaningfully?